Good morning. I'm Glenna Milberg. Welcome to a little bit shorter version of This Week in South Florida. We will keep an eye on the weather for you, no doubt. Meanwhile, South Florida may or may not be the corruption capital of the United States, but you know we have to be in the running. And this week, this month, this year, we've covered countless cases of government officials under scrutiny for potential wrongdoing, lawsuits and criminal charges involving people you elected to serve who are using their positions for other self-serving purposes. So it was a bit of a bombshell that dropped at the state capitol late this week when an amendment was dropped into an ethics bill that would gut the ability for ethics investigators to do some of their work. That bill then passed the Senate with no opposition. Did anyone focus on that last page of the bill, line 415? Well, your local ethics investigators did, and they are here with us today. Jose Arrojo is the executive director of the Miami-Dade Commission on Ethics. Jody Brees is the Broward County Inspector General. Nelson Bellido is one of the longest serving board members on the Miami-Dade Commission on Ethics. And it is great to have you all here talking about this, because I know ethics investigations are not a very public thing. So I wanted to just kind of talk about this bill that's going through. Jose, let me start with you. There is just this amendment that popped up on a bill that has been going through the process 2 months or so. And what caught your attention about this one amendment that would really take away the ability for your office to start an investigation?
So the amendment was essentially brought up, right before the floor vote in the Senate. And so my agency and my counterparts and all over the state in Jacksonville and Broward County and Palm Beach, it was really brought to our attention by county lobbyists who are watching the proceedings up there, and we were spectacularly surprised by the amendment.
Surprised, and I know you sort of got the news in Broward the same way. Practically speaking, take us through what does that matter? Because ethics investigations start in a variety of ways, complaints, etc. Why does that matter?
So. This particular bill would require individuals to file written sworn complaints identifying themselves and stating that they have personal knowledge of the facts underlying their complaint. And this would be the only way that a local commission could investigate an ethics violation. To give some context for you, my office, we don't do that much in terms of ethics, or I should say ethics is a small part of what we do. About 450 tips and complaints were filed in my office last year. About 17 of them were ethics related. Of those 17, only one was filed as a complaint, where it was written, sworn to, identify the individual, and was based on personal knowledge.
How do the rest of them come in? Phone calls, tips, anonymous?
Correct,
that kind of thing?
correct. And some of that is also self-initiated. This bill, most importantly, would prohibit any ethics commission or local enforcement agency doing ethics cases from self-initiating. That means that this process is the only process by which an ethics violation could be investigated. For example, there could be, if a law enforcement officer were to come into our office and present the case, if they didn't have personal knowledge, we couldn't investigate the case. If we saw a local media report and we thought it would potentially be a violation, we could not follow up. If we found something as we were investigating a valid, or not valid, but a complaint, and we found some other violation, we couldn't do anything about it.
So this in the center of South Florida, where literally just as a news reporter, I can, Nelson, name probably 10 or 12 public officials currently under some sort of scrutiny. Give me the big picture, and I don't want to pick on anybody, but give me the big picture of, would these people walk?
Glenna, that's just the point. It clips the wings of the local commissions.
Would they walk?
They could. It depends on circumstance. But as this bill has been proposed now, it does, because it requires there to be personal knowledge. Let me give you just a quick example. Years ago, a Miami City Commissioner, who will not be named, got pulled over by a police officer. He called the police chief. he got a warning. Most citizens and those viewers that are watching today, they wouldn't receive that benefit. He got a warning. There was an investigation by the Commission on Ethics. That individual, eventually there was a complaint filed. That individual ended up agreeing to that complaint. He got fined. It's an embarrassment. That's what the commission does in large part. It tries to keep the public trust. But if this bill were to pass, you couldn't have that. Another good example.
Hey, can I just
Sure.
address the one thing you're saying? Why won't you name this person if this has turned, we don't talk about allegations, innocent until proven guilty, but to your point, this person just admitted to it. Why not name him?
Well, again, I'm not here to throw anyone under the bus.
But isn't this-
it's readily, you could Google it and you
goes
could
to
find out.
public
Sure.
trust, yeah.
It does, and another example is the airport security. Many county officials were bypassing security, getting in front of everyone when they were going on personal trips with their families. That came to us as an anonymous tip. We were able to curtail that action that was taking place by county officials. Those are the kind of investigations that the local commission, our wings would be clipped. We wouldn't be able to do them. The police officer's not going to come into the Ethics Commission and swear under oath that this occurred. That would be political suicide, right? It doesn't happen.
Or
in
employment
large-
suicide.
Employment suicide,
Might it be
you're
if it
absolutely
was
right.
an employee of this person. So Jose, the ethics chair of the ethics committee on the floor says, Danny Burgess is his name, called this bill, the point of this bill to be fair and efficient and balanced and statewide, make every municipality, every city, every county sort of even-handed. Was that fair?
So I can't speak to those provisions of the bill, the bulk of the bill, what the bill was supposed to be originally, which was to streamline or modify, the procedures that the State Ethics Commission uses. I mean, there may be very, very good reasons for that, and I suspect that that bill was offered in good faith. But what it does for us here locally, though, is it completely flies in the face of what we've been trying to do for 25 or 30 years,
Yeah.
which is what my commissioner was talking about and what Ms. Priest was talking about, and that is we can't investigate, hard stop, unless there's a sworn complaint. So we have spent 30 years asking the general public, asking law enforcement, asking the media, asking anyone who has any evidence of ethical misconduct, please refer it to us. We'll serve as a clearinghouse. Many times, one of the things that we do a lot of times is we'll start the ethics investigation ourselves, and then at some point along the way, it looks like it's criminal, and we'll refer it criminally. The amendment to this bill will completely prevent us from doing that. So we couldn't investigate anything unless there's a sworn complaint attached to it. And so, again, the provisions that apply to the State Ethics Commission, they may be a very good idea, right? A lot of those provisions already exist in our local ordinance. Our sworn complaints have to be based on personal knowledge, right? But what it really does is it completely eviscerates any local investigative authority absent a sworn complaint by a local enforcement agency.
And can I just add, we have very seasoned investigators, many of them that wore the badge. So we're not talking about being
And some who
politically
were reporters.
motivated.
Yes.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So we're talking about trained staff. We don't have political agendas at the Ethics Commission, certainly not in the Miami-Dade Commission on Ethics and Public Trust.
Do you think this is a political agenda?
Do I personally think
You
it's a
opened the
political
door to that
agenda?
question,
Well, thanks, Glenna. Thanks for putting me on the spot. Do I think it's a political agenda? I think the way politics is now, Glenna, everything has become a political agenda, right? People
what would
are
that-
constantly. So, what do I feel here? I just feel my ask of whether it's Senator Burgess or the other legislators is, come to the Ethics Commission. Come on February 13th. Talk to us, talk to the commissioners. We have Commissioner Gord as a perfect example, a former City of Miami commissioner who sits on the Ethics Commission, somebody who is impeccable and somebody who calls balls and strikes, just like the rest of my fellow commissioners. That's what we have, and I invite them to come and learn about it. I think that this was rushed. I feel that there hasn't been enough of an education that has been provided by the legislators about our local commissions, whether it be Broward or whether it be Dade.
We're operating on a shortened timeline here, so let's take a quick break and we will be right back. Stay tuned. That ethics bill we just talked about is one of a dozen bills underway, just starting to get public attention. We mentioned it passed the state Senate without opposition this week, support from Republicans and Democrats. And we're going to start right there with State Senator Sharon Jones, Democrat repping northern Miami-Dade, from Miami Gardens to the beach. Senator Jones, great to have you.
Thank you for having me, Glenna.
All right, so I know you have been able to listen to part one of our discussion with the ethics investigators, part two to come. But I want to get your sense. I mean, the whole Senate, but for Bobby Powell, who didn't vote, a Democrat from West Palm, everyone voted for this ethics bill. And I just want to hear your take on it now that you're hearing the concerns of ethics investigators. Tell me.
Yeah, you know what, Glenna, the ethics investigators, they are so correct at how the bill came. It came extremely fast. The amendment, to be exact, came extremely fast. And it's being in the chambers is not like being in committee, to where you can hear the testimony from the experts to talk about what's wrong with the bill. And I totally understand. I think we're very early within the process of the legislative process, to where that bill is going to have to come back from the House side. My hope is that the investigators speak to the bill sponsor to bring those concerns, because I think what they were trying to get at was not to impede on the work of the investigators, because we do want to ensure that we catch the corruption from individuals that are doing the wrongdoing. But there have been, and there are individuals who utilize that for frivolous complaints that are not true. I don't think, and I do not believe that Senator Burge's idea of that was to impede on the local investigators.
Yeah, and to your point, if you read the bill, there is definitely an eye toward eliminating malicious or politically motivated ethics investigations, and anyone can launch any investigation. But then hamstringing investigators from launching their own was really interesting, because I will say here at Local 10, we've done stories where, I'm not sure it became an ethics investigation, but certainly it became criminal investigations. Based on our stories, we know the Miami-Dade State Attorney has launched criminal investigations. So what's the difference?
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I think the nuances of the bill is probably what we're speaking of right now, and not understanding, and I'll speak for me, and that is not understanding that in detail like that. And again, my hope is that once, as we still go through the process, that when that bill come back, I'm sure from the House side, when they do their amendments and things, that the ethics investigators and those who are the actual practitioners who are doing the on the ground from the local investigators standpoint, that they would bring those concerns up within these next few weeks, so we can make that clear. If not, that it becomes a more question on, how do we do this so individuals who are doing the wrongdoing are not just doing it and they're not being called out, and allowing the ethics investigators to do their work as they should be doing.
Yeah, actually, the House version of the bill does not have that amendment. That just doesn't exist in the House bill, and then of course the bills have to match for it to become law.
Exactly.
Would you advocate taking that amendment out? Can you take an amendment out once it's added?
Absolutely, because the Senate and the House are going to have to join and negotiate on what bill they want. And when the bill starts getting into messaging towards the last few weeks of session, either that language will come out and the Senate will accept the House version, or the House will accept the Senate version. But I'm almost sure that the ethics investigators who spoke very eloquently and was very clear on how this impeded on their work, I'm hoping that they will speak to the Senate to take the House version, to ensure that what we voted on in the Senate is not the direction we should go in, but we should ensure that the ethics investigators from across the state should be able to do their jobs.
Yeah. Okay. Subject change, if I can. The Senate bill that would have paved the way for gambling in Miami Beach, specifically in the Fontainebleau, by allowing Fontainebleau owners to take a gambling permit from a Broward dog track and essentially move it. So that bill was cooking, and then this week at the Miami Beach Commission, lobbyist Ron Book walked in and said, "Hey, it's dead." It doesn't look to be dead, but it does look to be on life support. And since this is your district, what happened there?
Well, listen, I represent Miami Beach, and I'll be very clear that the residents of Miami Beach make extremely clear that this is not what they wanted. They did not want, and they do not want gaming in their community. My office received over 300 emails. I was prepared to print every single email that came into our office to make it clear, because if passed, this could have opened up areas like Miami Beach to new casinos development, and Miami Beach is already having a traffic problem for one. And then I think the people spoke loud and clear years ago that that they didn't want an expansion in gaming in this manner. And so we have to respect the will of the people. And I'm happy that because it would have came to my committee on Monday, tomorrow.
All right, so let me just, well, respecting the will of the people is kind of what we're all supposed to do. The will of the people, to your point, was pretty clear 2 years ago when they tried. And again,
Yep.
a lot of money spent on this effort. It came back, and really it did not enter the life support venue until a couple of millionaire, billionaires, and maybe more entered the picture. Let's name Norman Brayman and Armando Codina, developers, and Ken Griffin, who have together this week voiced extreme opposition and offered to fund the opposition that Miami Beach had. So is this a billionaire versus billionaire fight? Because the will of the people has been pretty clear a couple of years now.
No, it definitely has been clear. I'm not sure whether it's a billionaire versus billionaire type of fight, but I can tell you that I appreciate the fact that they got the interest of the people, and they were prepared to bring people up to Tallahassee from Miami Beach to make it clear that this is not what we want in our city. I think the people they in their emails, one of the things that they made extremely clear is like messing up what they are already doing, the plans that Miami Beach already have when it comes to traffic, when it comes to these things. I mean, they have valid points for it. Their reasoning for it, they can, whatever the reason is, fine. But as long as we don't have to see that bill right now, and I'm hoping that we can just do away with it, because again, the people have spoken. Let's leave it at that.
Just for the record, I don't want anyone to think that we have a position on that bill. None at all. Just
No.
just part of our Q&A. So one last thing before I know you have to go, but one last thing. We had the House Speaker here last week talking about the HB1, the social media bill that would prevent 16-year-olds from having social media accounts. And it was all about mental health and protecting kids. There's really no bill in the Senate that is equal, but there are a couple of bills that have components of it in the Senate. Wondering your take on that bill and if you are supporting it.
Yeah, let me tell you, I don't know if individuals who are watching had the opportunity to watch the Senate hearing, the U.S. Senate hearing. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I actually agree with Lindsey Graham and his take with Mark Zuckerberg. I think social media, particularly when used the wrong way, has really done some damage to the mental health of our young people and also to our adults. I look at my district and what many parents have spoken about and what social media has done, and how it is the starting place for many on-campus fights on campuses. It is also the starting place for a lot of community violence. And being able to limit a minor's ability to access social media due to various negative outcomes that come from it, I actually 100% support it. However, I think it's important that we find a balance with limiting social media for minors, because it's a resource for many young children, for young people. But we have to strike that balance. But as pertains to HB1 and making sure parents know what their children are doing on social media, 100%. I am strong support of it.
Balance is good. Senator Chevron Jones, always great to have you on the program. Great to see you.
Thanks, Glenna. Thank
All
you,
right.
Glenna.
And stay tuned. We are back with our ethics investigators right after the break. We are back with our ethics investigators to talk more about this bill and the amendment that's concerning everyone. Jody Reese is the Broward Inspector General. Jose Araujo is the Executive Director of Miami-Dade's Commission on Ethics, Board Member Nelson Bellido. And so we all listened to the senator. I know you couldn't hear a lot of what he said just because of TV technology, but Senator Jones essentially said this amendment concerns him too. And the House version of the bill, which doesn't have it, it sounded like he was all on board for coming to some sort of balance. your take on how it passed the Senate with this amendment attached to it.
Okay, the bill itself, I think, was a bill of the Ethics Committee of the Senate, and the Senate's Ethics Committee chair being Danny Burgess, and it was Danny Burgess's amendment, or I should say amendment of the committee, on the floor of the Senate. So when we say it was a last minute amendment, it really truly was. It was after the second reading of the bill, which everybody, I think, all around believes that that bill is pretty good for the public. It provides for certain milestones and deadlines for the Commission on Ethics to process complaints, and added a couple of provisions to allow lawyers, I think, to not disclose who their clients are on certain disclosures.
Which could be a double-edged sword, I'm guessing. Yeah.
Right. So it was on the floor, and this amendment, or several of these amendments, were offered, and they all passed. This one being the last one, and it was immediately prior to the vote of the entire bill. And so one of the senators who spoke or asked questions of the sponsor of Senator Burgess asked specifically, or couched specifically, that this was sort of a poison pill. And that made me kind of start up, because in fact, with a bill that everyone has agreed to and everybody thinks is a good thing, to have this provision, which a lot of senators, I do believe, voted against the amendment itself, but then ended up voting for the whole bill because they liked the overall package.
And that's actually a problem with a lot of, I don't want to say problem, that's editorial, that's an issue with a lot of bills that go through state and Congress, is that the bill's really good, and then somebody will slip in something that they want that you kind of have to vote for because the bill is so good, but that is really concerning. But Jose, I want to get a sense, I mean, we've compiled video of all of these elected officials who are being scrutinized for ethical and in some cases, criminal issues. I want to get a real life sense of, you'll know who I'm talking about in Miami-Dade. Would they be facing scrutiny if this bill becomes law with the amendment?
So I think the way that I would answer that is, they may be facing scrutiny, but there is a whole investigative process that goes on the front end. I think you're referring to cases where it starts as an ethics investigation. We investigate the matter. At some point along the way, we gather enough credible evidence that we think it might be criminal. We refer it to the state's attorney's office, and in many instances, our investigators wind up being co-affiants on arrest warrants. So those are not cases that arise because someone swore at a sworn complaint. Those are cases that arose because someone called us, because we received a tip, because we read something or saw something on TV, and we decided to investigate it to see if there's credible evidence. Under the language of the Senate amendment, that investigation will never happen. We will not be able to investigate the matter up front. We will not be able to, to give some type of investigative work product to police and prosecutors, because we can't do it. And something I think that folks haven't looked at is we'll be prohibited from doing the reverse also. So if the state attorney's office investigates a matter and they determine at the end of their investigation there's insufficient evidence here for us to file criminal charges, but we're going to refer this back to the ethics agency. Well, absent a complaint, they can't do that anymore. We will not be able to investigate it. So not only does it affect cases that are ultimately criminal that start with us, it's going to affect cases where the state attorney's office defers to the ethics commission. We won't be able to investigate those either. So yeah,
but I don't think it's clear yet whether the ones that have been ongoing, Glenna, whether they would be curtailed. In other words, this bill, if it became a law and Governor DeSantis signed it, it would take effect, as I've read it, October 1st of 2024.
Yes.
So the ongoing investigations that have been happening over the last months, I don't think they would be impacted. I mean, Jose may know better, but I don't believe they would be impacted.
Well, I will tell you, Miami's mayor was under an ethics complaint and had come forward and said that, the commission dropped the complaint, and which is true. And the reason for the particular complaint he was talking about, the reason it was dropped is because it was brought with someone with no firsthand knowledge. In other words, it was a news report and a member who I'm sure that they're going to consider it a political type of thing. But it was dropped because the Ethics Commission right now needs firsthand knowledge from the complainant. Or
That's the state commission, not the local commission.
okay, so the local commission, anyone can file a complaint. And so to the point of the bill going through, anyone who has, political designs or maybe a little bit of a malicious intent can file a complaint. And are you bound to go forward with that?
So I can try to answer that. So I mean, if someone swears under oath, at least in Dade County, and files a complaint under oath, and it's politically motivated and it's meritless, we already have in our local ordinance the ability for the respondent, to seek, the assessment of costs and other, there's a way for the respondent, to go after the complainant and say, wait a minute, that was completely without merit, that was malicious, and we want you to pay attorney's fees, and we want you to, so something that's being proposed in the state statute already exists locally, and we have, I think, 2 cases pending right now before our board where exactly that happens. So there's a mechanism that already exists locally for that.
Do you think that, back to politics, there are a couple of bills that preempts local decisions on a variety of issues, development, et cetera. Is this one of those, do you think?
It is. I mean, by all appearances and everything that I've read, Senator Burgess's amendment is just that. He's saying, hey, we want uniformity. What I would suggest is look at the local commissions. Look at the ethics commissions in Jacksonville and Naples, in Miami-Dade County and Broward. Talk to these local officials, these local commissions, and you're going to get an answer that may surprise you, because Jose just told you we already have it in place. So perhaps the state should come more in line with what the local commissions are doing now.
Well, let me give Jody the last word. With that said, what should the public do? What should the public know, and what kind of action can the public take?
You can go to myfloridahouse.com/
or just Google it.
Yeah, or just Google it.
For TV purposes.
Right, okay, just Google who is your House representative and contact them and contact their office on Monday or Tuesday and simply let them know how you feel about this bill.
And on that note, public engagement is always what we do. It is so good to have you here, and I hope you will keep in touch on this and other ethical concerns in the county.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Michelle,
much.
Thank you.
All right, next we actually have one of those representatives with us for this and some other big bills affecting South Florida. State Rep Tom Fabrizio is here next.
We're providing up to 1 battalion of Florida National Guard, as well as our first ever deployment of the Florida State Guard.
More Florida man and woman power and resources heading to the southern border. It's the governor's latest move in national immigration politics, what he calls a stand against federal failures there. But that announcement comes with a big question. The mission of the newly reconstituted Florida State Guard is in Florida, and a bill that would remove that requirement is not yet law. We start right there with one of the sponsors of that bill, State Rep Tom Fabrizio, Republican repping Miami Lakes and the northwest quarter of Miami-Dade. Great to have you here. You are a lieutenant in the Florida State Guard, is that right?
That's right.
Well, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
So let's start there. This bill isn't soup yet. It's not law, and yet the governor announced that the Florida State Guard is headed to the border.
Actually,
how's that going to happen?
Well, actually, if you look at the current statute, it allows for the Florida State Guard to be used to assist other states. That is already in statute.
But outside Florida?
To assist other states, it's already in the statute.
So that announcement actually isn't jumping the shark at all?
I don't think so, and I'm speaking as a legislator. I'm not really speaking on behalf of the State Guard, of course. But the statute allows for the State Guard to assist other states. Florida Highway Patrol has been over there for some time. I think Fish and Wildlife as well, and Florida National Guard. So this is just using another agency to perform a function that we've already, as a state, been doing for some time.
Yes, especially Florida Highway Patrol, and we get the alerts about what they're doing there and arrests that they are assisting at the border. I think the governor said up to 1,000 people, guards, would be going, and equipment. And there have been a lot of questions raised if that is appropriate use of Florida money sending to Texas. Your take?
Look, my view is that Governor Abbott has requested assistance, and the state of Florida is ready to provide that assistance. Other states have helped us in times of hurricanes. Even when Champlain Towers occurred, we had members of the IDF come over to help at that site. So whenever another state requires or requests help, Florida is ready and willing to support its brother and sister states.
You know, interesting that you use those examples, because I think the umbrella that allows Florida's resources to go to Texas is emergency, under an emergency declaration. So the border is a national emergency. Is it a state emergency?
I would say that it affects Florida quite a bit. I mean, we have a lot of people coming through the I-10 corridor in human trafficking, and folks coming to Florida that are crossing the border in Texas. So it does affect us, and it affects our state, our economy, and I believe folks in our community support this.
Subject switch.
Sure.
I know you have last time you were here, we talked about the blasting bill, seismic blasts from the rock miners in your corner where you represent the county. Homes are damaged, homeowners are deeply worried and concerned, and we have video of it happening, so it's very real. And the bill that you have that would put parameters on some of this gets really its first hearing, and it looks like it's not a hearing with a vote.
It's a workshop.
A workshop. Well, where is that going? Is that moving quickly enough for you?
It's not, and I'll tell you, this is, so HB 245 is my bill, and the purpose of the bill is to lower ground vibrations, specifically when you have a residential community within 1 mile from the mining area. And there's a lot of interest on both sides. The fact is that the aggregate that's extracted from that mine is used in road building and in construction, and the cost of construction would be an issue. So it's extremely important to my community to be able to lower that number. So we've pushed very heavily. It's always been my #1 priority for the last 4 years. I have not had a hearing before, so we're finally getting a workshop so that members of the community can come to Tallahassee and testify to the committee as to the effects of the ground vibration. So we see this as a huge step forward. It is not the ultimate solution, but we're bringing more light and voices to this issue.
Have your colleagues who are kind of slow walking this, have they seen the video? You can bring our newscast and show what goes on. Have they seen any of that? I'm trying to wrap my head around why there would be anyone in the legislature who wouldn't want to find that balance between the mining and home damage.
That's a great question, and I hope to see you at the hearing on Tuesday. What I imagine the answer is, and what I've heard back, is that there are not many other communities throughout the state that are within 1 mile of an active mine. And
okay.
Right. So, and their view is that the economic impact would be terrible to the state.
Have you crunched the numbers? Is that true?
I don't think that's true. I do believe that there are methods that they can use to extract the limestone aggregate from these quarries that are close to the community that could be done without providing damage to the community. So that's where we're at. They're going to provide testimony. I'm looking forward to hearing their testimony, and I'm looking forward to members of my community testifying as well.
Have you talked to the people in the mining companies? I know they even have an organization, a professional organization. They have not returned our phone calls, for the record. What are they saying?
Well, the folks at White Rock Quarries don't return my calls either. I've spoken to a couple of the other companies, some folks at Cemex and Titan, and they'll tell me that their mining does not affect my community, and that's probably true. They're further down south. And they've talked about the fact that they use methods that are not as abrasive as other members of the mining community use. Look, ultimately, we want to be able to have a situation where the miners are able to extract their limestone so they can get the concrete that's needed. However, we want them to do it in a way where our homes aren't shaking and aren't cracking.
100%. All right, last switch.
Sure.
I know legislators wear many hats.
We do.
And I appreciate you rocking and rolling on all of this. But this week, there was a House committee that approved a bill that would take policies out of citizens, property insurance policies out of citizens, and put them in some new surplus lines companies. I
Sure.
did a quick sort of check on what that even means, and it looks like surplus lines companies are not quite as regulated as other insurance companies. So break that down. How is that beneficial?
So I looked at that bill, and I did not vote for that bill in committee, and I provided debate against that bill. And there's two versions of the bill in particular, one moving through the Senate and one moving through the House. I've talked to several surplus lines insurance carriers, and they're for the most part not interested in that bill in particular. What that bill would do, it would allow a surplus lines insurance carrier to take out policies from citizens for second homes, not for where you live, not for your homestead property. For second homes, they could get taken out. Those policies that get taken out will likely have a premium increase, and what they told me was that it wouldn't be enough policies coming out of citizens to regulate or balance your premiums that are currently in citizens.
So it would have no effect on insurance premiums?
The effect would be possibly for somebody who owns two homes, their second home policy premium is going to go up, and their regular homestead premium may go up or stay somewhere in the same neighborhood. So they would not see a positive effect.
So what would be the positive effect for passing this bill?
I'm not necessarily a proponent of this bill. We're looking at it to see if there are positives that can come out of it, but in its current form, I'm not a proponent of the bill.
Rep. Tom Fabricio, always great to have you at the table. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Glenna. Great seeing you.
You too. Thank you. And next, South Florida is set to become the center of the global soccer universe as a host of World Cup 2026. The newly named co-chair of the host committee, the man with the plan, is here with us next. Are you ready for some football, as in F-U-T football, as in World Cup soccer coming in summer of 2026? South Florida is rolling out the red carpet for the mega global event. And this week we learn who will spearhead that effort. FIFA Miami World Cup Host Committee co-chair Rodney Barreto is right here. Is this your first television interview? As co-chair of...
Oh, yes, it is.
Yeah, I know. You've been on TV because let's see
Good
what hats
seeing you, Glenna.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good to, Glenna, no D.
Yeah, got
I
it.
know it's a tough one, not the good witch.
Right.
So, okay, co-chair of the World Cup, co-chair of the Super Bowl host committee, FWC commissioner, chairman.
Yep.
Do you have time to do this?
I do. And actually, I'm going to a wedding down in Colorado after this.
Yeah, watch the weather on that one.
I will. But,
so this is exciting South Florida is suddenly the soccer epicenter of the world. Thank you, Inter Miami, I suppose. And
yeah,
David
and
Beckham and Jorge Mas
a big hat off to Beckham and Mas for bringing Messi in, because that has really upped the game.
Do you know February this week of 2013 is when that started, more than a decade ago. So how are you rolling out the red carpet? What does this mean to South Florida?
Well, first of all, kudos to Mayor Cava, who really went after this and brought it to our community. So it's going to be a phenomenal event. You know, unlike a Super Bowl, which is a one-day activity, this is going to be over 5 weeks. And actually today at 3 o'clock, FIFA is going to be announcing what cities are going to be, what kind of games the cities are going to get.
So as the co-chair, do you have inside information? Let's break some news right here.
No, we don't.
I
wish we did, but it's been a top secret. But you know what? FIFA, I got to give FIFA credit. They have made a real commitment to North America. They took office space in Coral Gables. They took 40,000 people. They're moving their whole legal division from Switzerland to Coral Gables. In fact, I was talking to the lawyers you just had on. They're getting emails. They're looking for lawyers to hire. So people, obviously, there's a lot of activity.
We're making connections here today too. Who knew?
Yeah.
Right.
So, but it's exciting. I mean, listen, Miami is not the hottest city in America. It's the hottest city in the world. Everybody wants to be here.
We are a brand here.
Yes.
Will, Super Bowl, to your point, is one day, and we know what goes into that. This kind of multi-event, multi-location, being that we are a region, does Broward, does Monroe see any of these benefits?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And you know what the convenience of South Florida is because we have Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach international airports to get into. So it allows people to get into the region quite easily. And on top of that, we have 130,000 hotel rooms that are available.
What is the expectation of numbers? Have you crunched the numbers yet?
You know, we really haven't, and I think that's going to depend on what teams are going to be here.
Yeah.
But it's exciting. A lot of people are talking about it. Us people who watch regular American football and are used to calling it soccer. We're going to have to get used to calling it football.
Well,
right?
I don't know. I think there'll be a lot of soccer fans still calling it soccer. But that's, to your point, it's a global game. And do you take me through your hat as the Super Bowl host committee chairman, and you plan the events and you plan public engagement, which is very important.
Absolutely.
How is that going to transfer to something so global and so much bigger, really?
Yeah, I think you're going to see, first of all, most people won't be able to go to the actual games.
Because it'll be too expensive.
I'm not so sure, but I mean, there are only limited crowds as well. Yeah. So the good news is that we're going to have all kinds of activation throughout the whole community so that people will have a sense and feel that they're part of it.
Like what?
Well, we're in the process of putting that together, and I don't want to get ahead of our committee.
We need some inside intel.
Well, listen, the only thing I can tell you inside info is we're putting the band back together. I've already hired a couple of folks that worked with me with Super Bowl, and they're very seasoned professionals. We're going to soon to be announcing a new board of directors, which are going to be the who's who of Miami, and it's going to be a game changer on the way you put events together in Miami.
I don't think people might not realize what a corporate conglomerate this becomes. It's a sport.
Right.
That's that end. Talk a little bit about it's all volunteer.
Right.
There's no, you have a budget.
Right.
Talk about that.
Well, we're in the process. We have actually, to be honest with you, we haven't even finalized the budget.
This is pretty new,
Our
right?
contract with FIFA, we're almost there. That will then allow us to put a budget together.
What does that look like? Ballpark it. I'm not going to hold you to anything, but
how
big is this?
There's all kinds of numbers from 50 million to 100 million, but who knows? I don't subscribe to all those numbers because, first of all, number one, when you are a community activist like me, I'm a professional beggar. So I get, in my case, Bruce Colin from Holland Knight gave us free legal work. He's working with us on FIFA right now at no cost. So we'll have an accounting firm that'll give us free accounting work. We'll have office space that'll be given to us by a community leader. So a lot of those things will save us effort for us going out and trying to raise those monies. There'll be in-kind services.
And why? What is the benefit? And I know that might be kind of a crazy question because global soccer is a phenomenon. But what is really the benefit? Talk to the people in Coral Springs or Opa-locka who aren't going to be at the game, who really don't like soccer much. Talk to them and say why.
Well, first of all, this is great for the community as a whole, and it starts right at your airport. People have to fly in. They're going to have to get a car, either Uber, Lyft, or rent a car. They're going to have a hotel room. They're going to go out to your restaurants or go to your shopping malls, go to your beaches. So you can see the multiplying effect that these things do. And when we last had Super Bowl here in 2020, the best Super Bowl in history, weren't able to take a victory lap because of COVID. The world shut down.
Oh, that's right.
We were north of $500 million impact to this community. And it just has a huge effect. We have all kinds of small vendors. We'll have a minority business opportunities where we'll engage small vendors to do business with us. We'll be activating a lot of people, sign companies, AV companies. It just keeps going on and on.
So lastly, you have time for this?
Sure.
No, what happens if there's a Super Bowl scheduled for Miami sometime? That's not going to happen, right?
No, well, it's funny, when I talked to the mayor, one of my caveats of volunteering to this was that if we got a Super Bowl, if we received a Super Bowl, that I would have to resign off this board. But we're not. I think our Super Bowl chances are 28, maybe 29, and we're pushing hard for that. So a lot of competition out there.
A lot of competition. Sports is big business.
Sports is big business. Unfortunately for Miami-Dade, we still hold the record. We have 11 Super Bowls in our community because we were way ahead of the curve. We knew Super Bowls were good for our community, good for our local business and our economy.
Rodney Barreto, I know you have a wedding to get to in Key Largo. I wish the bride and groom sunny skies today.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Great seeing you. Thank you.
Same. All right, we will be right back. To rewind. watch today's interview or to listen to the This Week in South Florida podcast, just grab your phone and scan that QR code right there, and it takes you right to the This Week in South Florida section of local10.com. You know we love to hear from you about anything in the news at all. Connect with us really easily on social media. Find and follow, reach out at Glenna, WPLG, on Facebook, X, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, wherever you like to go. Please do keep in touch. Have a beautiful Sunday, and thank you so much for spending this hour with us.